Welcome to Roofing Road Trips, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey across the world of roofing. From fascinating interviews with roofing experts to on-the-road adventures, we'll uncover the stories, innovations, and challenges that shape the rooftops over our heads. So fasten your seatbelts and join us as we embark on this exciting roofing road trip.
Hello and welcome to another Roofing Road Trips from Roofers Coffee Shop. My name is Heidi Ellsworth and we are here today with some of my favorite people talking about my favorite topic, inclusivity, women in roofing, all the great stuff, and recruitment to get more inclusiveness into the industry, bringing more people in. So we have Kristen with High Peak Staffing and Rae with Chinook Building Envelope Services here today, ladies. Welcome.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, this is just making my, I don't even know what day it is. Wednesday afternoon. This is a great day. So let's start out with some introductions. So Kristen, can you start?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Hi, my name is Kristin Case. I am co-owner of High Peak Staffing. We are a commercial residential building envelope manufacturing agency for the roofing industry. So we specialize in placement from anything from your, foreman up to C-suite, president, operations level folks nationwide.
Wow, so cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, what a time. This is the time to be in recruitment, right?
We love it. Yeah, we are, as you know, through our conversations, I think when we started with you guys, we had about 7 recruiters and we're now at 11. So we've got a team of 11 and we're just growing and it's awesome. We're busy as can be. So we're so happy to be here.
Such a need. And Rae, can you introduce yourself and tell us about what you do with your company and a little bit about your company?
Absolutely. My name is Rae July-Fistonich, and I'm the Director of Business Development with Chinook Building Envelope Services. We are a building envelope company, and people always ask, what is building envelope? And well, the building envelope is it protects everything inside of the building. So we do roofing, wall systems, exteriors, and foundations as well. And I am the Director of Business Development here at Chinook. I'm responsible for all of our sales and marketing efforts, and I do quite a bit of hiring.
Yeah.
You do a lot. And so, okay, before we get on to some questions, I also want to have you kind of give us a little bit of history of your involvement, each of you, with National Women in Roofing. So, Kristen, why don't you start?
Yeah. So I started as a member of National Women in Roofing about 9 years ago. Then I kind of fell off a little bit just through growing my career. And then about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, jumped back in with you guys. Then was invited to be on the National Women in Roofing recruiting team where I work with Rae, which she can tell you some awesome news about that in a second. and then I also joined the local Denver council because I live in Castle Rock. And that's been awesome. So just so excited to be here.
You're on the leadership team there too, right?
I am. Yeah, it was great. I mean, they welcome me with open arms and I have a specialty role with them too. So it's been great. As you know, your daughter works on that council and it's just been such a great time. I love those girls. So
yeah. So they are the best. So Rae, I know a lot of this, but tell us about your history with National Women in Roofing.
I have been with NWIR for, it's been a long time, a few years, probably maybe eight years now, something like that.
Yep.
Started off as one of the founding members of the Seattle Council, and I've served nationally on the board on the DEI committee. And now I am the chair of our industry recruitment committee. I've recently taken over the reins as chair of the industry recruitment committee.
So congratulations.
Boy, this is all coming together. So let's talk a little bit. Let's start on why is it important for the roofing industry to be inclusive of all people, not just women, but all people. And Rae, I would love for you to kind of take that and run.
Yeah, absolutely, Heidi. I think, just from my perspective, I think it's important for inclusivity to all people because our industry is multifaceted. And, there's a stigma about roofing. When you hear roofing, people think it's dirty, it's, uneducated and all these things. But really, roofing runs the gamut, right? You have the manufacturing side, you have the distribution side, you have accountants, you have controllers, you have, you name it. It's in the industry. you've got scientists that work in the roofing industry. I mean, how else can we develop the technology behind all the great products that we have? And so I think it's important that it's inclusive and it has a diverse aspect when it comes to recruitment, because you need that talent in every single facet. It's not just about, getting the talent to install the product, but getting the talent to get the work and the sales aspect. Our company, we run on the three gets. It's get the work done, and get paid for the work. Well, you get the work through sales, through your sales effort, you're getting the work. So you need that talent. You get the work done through the talent of installing, and then you get the work done through the accounting side, right? Who's your controller? Who's your accountant? Who's doing the AR and AP for your company?
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of times people forget that the customer base, right? The end users, the building owners, the homeowners are everyone, right? So you have to have an inclusive industry and companies to be able to build that trust, to we've talked about this before, right? Look familiar, like feel comfortable, right? And Kristen, as you are recruiting, you are going out there and you're looking across so many different platforms and so many different peoples. Why is it so important, this inclusivity of all people into roofing?
Yeah, I feel like the diversity, right? We need to be able, especially with the generational gaps that are starting to happen. Like this isn't so much a boys' club anymore. We really have to be inclusive and bringing women in and allowing them to thrive. I believe that just like what Rae said, when we have a job posting out there and it's for a roofing company, women will typically look away. I don't know if I want to work for that roofing company. But what we do is we work with our clients and also our team to make sure that the language is really inclusive. And if there is women on the leadership team, HR team, accounting team, or whatever it may be, we really push that home. We drive that out there so that when they read that, they'll say, "Oh, that's me. I can do that."
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just a big part of it. Is, of course, like right now, as we all know, it's a majority of men in the industry. And, and I love obviously placing them, but I also, when I see a qualified woman for one of the jobs, I am pushing them through the front door and getting them that interview.
Yeah.
Because I know that women bring so many great things to the workplace.
Yeah. There's a lot of soft skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, it is so true. So let's talk about that. Let's keep going with that. And Rae, you just said it, soft skills. What are some of the unique talents that women bring that, that we've talked about this so many times, but that they really bring to balance out the industry?
I think it's the diversity of thought. I think if sometimes, and I don't want the conversation to really be about men versus women, but men think about things differently, whereas women have a different approach. Like, they're some women can be problem solvers. They see the problem through a different lens, and their approach to things are different. They have a way with words when it comes to getting the maximum effort out of people. As a leader, I can say something to my team. I can communicate that the same way the president or CEO is communicating it, but I communicate it differently and get a different result because of that nurturing aspect that I have. Women tend to be more empathetic. I think of myself as somebody who has an emotional maturity where I can recognize when somebody's having a hard day, right? If I'm communicating with a team member, I can recognize, okay, this person isn't responding like they normally do. And so maybe I need to pause on that conversation and take them, separately and have a different conversation and check on their mental health and ask, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do to help?
Yeah, I agree with that. And Kristen, I love it when, talking about, first of all, you're, on the Denver Council. So you're you're seeing all these women with all these different talents, but also as you are recruiting and looking, what are some of the unique talents that you're seeing that women are bringing into the workforce?
Well, I'll tell you from feedback. So when I do job placement with females, we do our quality calls, we do our follow-up. So this might be someone I'm placing in sales. It could be entry-level, senior, accounting, HR, and really any position. The feedback is, oh my gosh, what a strong communicator I've hired here. Wow, the attention to detail this person has. And this is absolutely nothing against men. It's just that what they see on some of these jobs that we hire for, it's just that little thing that they add. It could be,
Yeah.
on top of that, I would say the resilience, when women jump into a roofing position, the unknown, they don't just give up. They say, I want to be here. I deserve to be here. And I'm cool with being here, and I think that's when we're, out there recruiting, and I'm talking to females about getting into the industry. I say, this is a roofing company. This isn't working at Apple. So you have to understand it could be a little bit more blue collar, or how do you feel about the majority of sometimes there being men? And the response is always positive. It's, I have brothers. My dad owns a plumbing company or whatever, and it's they're much more open. Women are much open, and they want their opportunity to get their foot in the door. That's really what I see. I rarely get, oh no, that's not for me. I mean, really.
I think too, Kristen, you touched on it. You talked about resilience. I think that we have something to prove because we know that we're entering into a predominantly male environment, and we know the stigma that comes with it. And so we have something to prove. We're approaching every problem with kind of like a chip on our shoulder. I've got something to prove.
Exactly.
I've got something to prove. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to show you that you're making the right decision by, promoting me to this role or hiring me for this role. I think that's why you find that they're not giving up so easily, because we've got something to prove.
Yeah. Give me the opportunity. I'm going to do it, Yeah, definitely.
Well, and I think also, just as women in business, we are at a cultural shift. When we look back a couple generations, there weren't that many women in the workplace. So to your point, Rae, this is in some ways, no matter what profession you're in, we're finding our way and kind of proving what we can do. Now, that's a couple generations back, and things are a lot different now. But I think there's still that motivation and that drive to really be able to say, I can be anywhere that I want to be. And
I'll chime in on that too, because we're contracted with almost 50 companies nationwide. I will tell you that it is so inclusive now compared to, what you've heard from 10, 15, 20 years ago. My clients are like, get me the best. I don't care, and there's no more, like I'll say when I started roofing recruiting about 11 years ago, they would say, I don't know if a female would fit with us, and I would say, well, that's unfortunate. I'm sending them anyway, because that's my job. But, and because I think of how I would feel, like I want the opportunity,
Right.
So we're now, it is just so much more inclusive, which is awesome. So we work with great companies out there. Most companies are like that. They want to have that diversity and inclusion at their companies.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of the barriers have come down, right? And one that I find really interesting, and I know we still do not have a lot of women working on the roof, although there's more than there used to be. But it used to be, like you just can't lift as much. You aren't as strong.
You're gentle.
Enough. Gentle. But today, that with the technology of construction, that is just not the case anymore. I mean, if OSHA is there for a reason, and that means it's so people aren't lifting too much or the weight and different things. Rae, are you seeing that? I mean, I know we still are. It's still something that a lot of women are not either interested in, being encouraged in, or whatever. But it seems like some of the skills you were talking about earlier, that attention to detail, just putting it all together, is a perfect fit, especially on some low slope service and maintenance. It's amazing to get them on the roof.
Absolutely. I think it's really difficult, and it has to do with the marketing, right? It's how you package the product to sell it. Yeah. And I think a lot of women are still hesitant when it comes to actually doing the physical side of it, but the mental side, they're not hesitant because it's, it's easy, right? They've got the skill sets. It's there. They can do it. The physical aspect, there are some women who are still hesitant because you're looking at, products and, how much does a bundle of shingle weigh? Can I carry a bundle of shingle? Those kinds of things. But when you talk about embracing a company's embracing the technology and having a proper safety plan in place, then they're not scared of it anymore, because now they feel confident that I can do this because I'm not hauling bundles up a ladder, because the distributor is loading the materials on the roof
Right.
in a safe manner. And, I'm not doing this on my own. I'm working as a crew. There's all these things that go into it. You talked about, on low slope and service and maintenance and those kinds of things, that attention to detail. If you look at, the way coatings are installed, that fluidity in the motion of your hands, it honestly reminds me of icing a cake.
Yeah.
It's that fluidity in the motion. And that's why I'm talking, these soft skills that become applicable to women in general.
Right.
I want to piggyback on that. So this is shout out to Denver Council, because there are quite a few women on our council that are business owners, roofing business owners. So they do a lot of the loading and then, they're doing it all, but they are so knowledgeable, and that shines. And then by being so knowledgeable and being great leaders, they're able to hire on the crews, to help. So it's a big family, they're all helping each other along the process, but the way that they're so much more knowledgeable and eager to share that versus maybe some of the men out there, it's just really impressive, and then that gains attraction to where a guy doesn't care if he's working for a woman,
Yeah.
and if he feels like this business is going somewhere, hire me. And it's awesome. I see it every day in Denver.
I think women hire more women too. I mean, when you think about that, it's not as, but they also hire men. It's not this like, I have to have this gender. It does. That's kind of going away.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I like, what Kristen said about, that education aspect. You have to educate yourself, and you have to know what it is you're doing and stay on top of it, because then it lends credibility to who you are and what you're doing.
Yes.
If you just go about this, without the education and without the consistent training, and we know our industry is always evolving. There's new products. There's all these things happening. If you're not willing to educate yourself and stay on top of trends in the technology and in the industry, you're going to be left behind. You're going to be constantly operating at a disadvantage, and you're going to wonder why. And this is across the board, whether you're male or female, but you have to have that education, and you've got to cement yourself in that.
Yeah. Kristen, you have to find that all the time, is that, and there are a lot of resources. I mean, I'm going to say we work every single day to put resources out on the coffee shops to help people learn about new products, learn different things. But really, you have a lot of new people, men and women, coming into the roofing industry. I'm just really curious, how many folks in your recruiting are totally from out of the industry that you are bringing in?
So I would say probably 30%. So a lot of the jobs, will require the skills, like let's say an edge estimator. They want them to have, the edge and commercial roofing experience. But when, let's say I find someone that applies, or I find them on LinkedIn or referral that is green, I will send that person and say, hey guys, listen, I am fully aware this person is not qualified, but they've got a great profile and I think they fit your culture. And this actually just happened today. And this person has 1 year of experience on a residential background, but really wants to break into commercial. And we hot pitched him over, and they said, set it up. And he's interviewing today. So,
Awesome.
it was so for us, and then over to the 30%, a lot of those positions are people that are willing to jump in from the pivot from the residential to the commercial, are willing to start kind of at the bottom because they know they've got a lot to learn. Or it'll be different industries moving transferable skills, like an accounting role or an HR role or, internal office role. They don't care where they come from. Yeah. They just want them to have, the good background. So those ones are very easy. And then for me, it's my job just to say, hey, you have to come work at this awesome roofing company. Does that word scare you? No, it shouldn't.
Right.
And get them on board. But, sometimes the initial reaction is roofing. Since I was that person, it's so easy for me to sell roofing now because I was that person wait, what? The guy on the roof that's just, I had a bad idea. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, it's such a different viewpoint now.
It's so different. I know. And when you're advertising, and I'm curious for both of you, but when you're advertising or looking for, new hires, do you sometimes advertise and don't put the word roofing in it? Because I've been hearing that lately, that people are like advertising and not putting roofing in there, just saying we need an accountant.
I always put it. Because I'm so proud.
We do. We put it in there. Yeah, we put it in there. Like right now, I'm looking for 2 estimators, and you have to put in there exactly what it is you're doing. And when they come in and I interview with them, I have them. They see the kind of office space we have. They see the kind of people. It gives them a feel for who we are. And I always do like a phone interview first too, to kind of vet them to see just where they're at, because not everyone who submits a resume or applies for a job necessarily wants that job, right? Some people just cast a wide net. And so I go through the process of really talking to them to understand what it is they're looking for, share with them who we are as a company and what it is I'm looking for. And, I connect with some of their previous work experiences and try to have that conversation on how those skills can translate over to this role that I'm hiring for.
That's cool. That's cool.
One thing
Go ahead,
I will
Kristen.
add there is, so a lot of the times my clients will say, well, how are you able to find people and we can't? And I'll say, well, are in your, job ad, are you saying, how awesome you guys are? Because when I post the job for you guys, I am, because I have the experience working with you guys. Are you? And they'll say, oh my gosh, no. And they'll send me their job ad. And it's just this very vanilla, hey, here are the basics. And I'm like, there's no sizzle here. You need to sell. Like, tell me what you guys are doing in sales, or how much you've grown over the last 5 years, or XYZ, right? And so I think for me, being the person that's proud to put the roofing aspect is because I can say so many other things besides the word roofing. Now, unless it's a confidential search, which is completely different, then we would put more like general construction. But no, I am like, it's a great roofing company that's growing and is hiring like crazy. Like, you need to come work here.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's how you market. I talked to,
it's totally marketing.
It's how you package this and market it. Because if you're not doing that, then it's just going to be drab. They're going to be like, oh, I don't know that I want to work there. It looks boring.
Yeah, totally.
How do you see National Women in Roofing really playing a role? I mean, we're going to be celebrating 10 years next year. So how has National Women in Roofing really kind of changed the playing field for women in roofing? What kind of shifts have you seen? You know what? I'm going to start with you, Kristen. What shifts have you seen? Because you were involved, then you kind of built your business, and now you're involved again. What have you seen?
Well, the growth, obviously. My first meeting, I think there was 20 people or something like that. It was, and then I come back and what we have 500 at National Women in Roofing Day.
Yeah.
I mean, that was insane. So I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job, or we all are, in the marketing, getting the word out, because and then it feels really inclusive. Like, you're part of this club now. I have told so many recruiter friends that are getting into the roofing industry about National Women in Roofing, and I'm like, join your local council now, get more involved that way, and you're going to build your name, your brand, So I would say that's the most awesome part. Like, going and feeling like you're a part of this cool club is so awesome, and it's like great for me. It's like a great resume builder, being able to say I'm working on 2 committees is like, people are like, wow, and so it's just, that part is so awesome, to feel included. So I would say, the marketing overall and the inclusivity is awesome.
Yeah. I'm always saying the best Rolodex ever, right? And I know how old that is, but you think about it, if I'm thinking about, it's happened just recently. I had a friend in the roofing industry who is making a change in her career, and I sent her to you, Kristen. I said, hey,
we're working with her.
Yeah. And she's going to find you a great job. And so this Rolodex of being able to pick up the phone and saying, no, I can network you. I can go talk to this person. They'll talk to you, because we've all come together, where before we were all kind of separated. And I think, Rae, I know you have your team at Chinook, a lot of women. You've really grown a culture of inclusivity across the board, not just with gender. Talk a little bit about that culture and how important that is to build the culture so people want to come work for you and then they want to stay.
Yeah, I think that culture has become a big thing for a lot of people. During the interview process that I'm dealing with right now, a lot of people ask, what's your company culture like? And you have to be prepared to answer that question, but you also have to be careful how you answer that question. because your culture, people ask that question and they're looking for specific answers. And so I always ask, well, what does culture really mean to you? Because our company culture may not fit everyone, right? And we have, our company is incredibly diverse. It's become very diverse over the last, I would say, 6 or 7 years. When I started here 11 years ago, I was probably like one of 3 women.
Wow.
I was the only woman of color. And now it's like the rainbow.
Yeah,
I love that.
Love it.
And a lot of it wasn't necessarily intentional, but in some ways it kind of was, because we were looking for talented people, but we're also looking for that diversity, because we wanted to have, and not just a diversity in age, a diversity in gender. We wanted to have all of it. And I think that when people come in and they see who we are and they look at our website and they see who we are, it shows that diversity. If you want to recruit talent and you want to recruit diverse talent and be inclusive, the content you're putting out there, your website, your brochures, all of those things have to be reflective of that diversity and inclusivity. Because the reviews, because if I'm hiring someone and I'm a predominantly male company and I want to hire a woman, but my website is all men, there's nothing that says that, I have other women working here. There's none of those things. Then all of a sudden when that person says, well, what's your culture like? I'm kind of going, well, there's a bunch of men here. It's, male dominated. And, I don't know if you'll fit in and those kinds of things. It's like, you want to make sure that you've got that diversity and inclusivity as the foundation when you build your culture.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. What's some of the advice you give along that lines, Kristen, as you're working with your numerous clients across the country, really marketing that culture and inclusivity, and then helping people with the, I love the fact that you do that follow-up phone call, right? How's it going? What's happening? Keeping retention. Yeah.
So, when companies reach out to us, it's typically because they're having trouble hiring, right? So my first question to them is, how long has your job been open? It's been open 3 months.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, let's run through your job ad real quick. And I'll tell them, well, we're missing quite a few things here. The sizzle, right? What's the sell? What makes you guys exciting? But then there's that inclusivity and the diversity, because think about, if you are doing those things, your net just went way wider. So when you're marketing to the roofing industry, which I'll tell you, when I first started, when they would talk to me, it would be, I only want people from within the industry and only qualified folks, which would, it was a small net. When we start casting a wider net and we're, having inclusive language, our job postings talk about the women that work there, et cetera, all of a sudden, instead of going from 5 applicants a month, you might get 25 applicants. So for me, I always say this, Italian Irish, no filter. I love the education part. I like telling my clients who trust me that, hey, you guys have to pivot. You have to change, and let's do these 3 things to start and see what happens, because that's usually why, when they come to me, they're having trouble, and I'll say, well, here's what I'm doing. And when I reach out to my network of 15,000 plus people on LinkedIn, I'm talking to every person, and not just one group of people. So I'd say that's the biggest thing, is like in our coaching, and we do that on the recruiting committee. So what we're trying to get out there is that inclusivity, that diversity, like talk about women that work at your company, whether they're, a leader or an admin or an accounting person, like mention them so that other women out there go, I could do that. That's me. And it's really that simple, because if they feel like they're included and they're not afraid of the word roofing and boys club, they're going to apply and they're going to thrive. My male clients that have hired women through me are so happy, and they just keep coming back for more.
And it's proof of concept, right? You have to have the proof of concept, because I always use myself as an example. I started with this company 11 years ago in an entry-level role. 11 years later, I'm in a leadership role. I'm one of 4 leaders in the company. And so when you talk about women and recruiting them, they need to see someone who has done it and who's been successful doing it. So when, Kristen, piggybacking on what you said with that follow-up call, you're following up with them. How is it going? Like, let me,
do you like this?
Yeah. Are you enjoying this? How is this going? And then you're building that proof of concept with them that, remember, I told you this was going to be a great opportunity, and now you're in it and you're enjoying it and you're checking in with them and they're showing you their progression. And, even organizations like NWIR, that's where you have that ability to grow and to, expand your network. All the women that you get to meet who are, I have friends all over the country who are in this industry that I can call when I have a question. I have friends in manufacturing and distribution, who are other contractors that I can bounce ideas off of. So it's like we've built this network of women, our tribe, that we can connect with, that helps us along the way. And that's how, it's our own little community that we help each other elevate.
It's so true. Yep. That was the vision. And here we are today. How exciting is that?
Yeah.
Well, ladies, oh my gosh, we could go for another hour. I'm just telling you, this is so awesome. Kristen, can you let everybody know just a little bit more about High Peak Staffing and how they can get a hold of you and how they can get started on hiring, being more inclusive in their hiring to help make that pool bigger, help them get more labor and more help?
Yeah. So I always say, just give me a call. It's so much easier that way. I will talk to anyone, just because sometimes it is just that 5-minute conversation and I may never talk to them again, or they may turn into the biggest account I have. I don't care either way. I want these companies to be successful so that they are getting the right people in the door. And so if you'd like to get in touch with us, obviously on our Roofers Coffee Shop directory page, High Peak Staffing, and also on LinkedIn, very, very active there. So Kristin Case at High Peak Staffing is the easiest way to reach me.
It's so easy to find him. And Rae, for those ladies and gentlemen out there right now who are saying, I want to get involved with National Women in Roofing, how do they do it?
You can go to nationalwomeninroofing.org, the website. You'll find a council near you. You can become a member, attend meetings. I think we have a virtual council as well. It's a great opportunity really to get involved in the industry, to connect. We have NWIR Day coming up in January in Las Vegas. I believe it's
10-year anniversary.
It's our 10-year anniversary, and we're really, really excited. It's an amazing organization. I've been a member probably close to 8 years now, and it's really done a lot for my career.
Yeah. Me too. Well, ladies, thank you so much. And Kristen, thank you for this great topic, this great idea. You can find information on High Peak Staffing on our Roofers Coffee Shop in their directory. Get a hold of Kristen. It is great. Or if you know people who are looking for a job in roofing, send them over. Right?
Send them over.
This is a great place. And also National Women in Roofing has a directory on Coffee Shop too. So you can find everything you need to. I am a huge advocate, as you all know. And so I hope you all get involved and hire more women, just more inclusivity across the board. It doesn't care. It's just, we want everybody in roofing because it's such a great place to be. So
yes,
that's right.
Ladies, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for this great podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening. Wow, this is the stuff that can make a huge difference. So here's a shout out to all the women in your company. Get them involved with National Women in Roofing. You'll love it. And also check out all of our podcasts under the Read, Listen, Watch navigation on Roofers Coffee Shop. Be sure to listen to your favorite podcast channel and set those notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be seeing you next time on Roofing Road Trips.
If you've enjoyed the ride, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us on every roofing adventure. Make sure to visit rooferscoffeeshop.com to learn more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next Roofing Road Trip.